Hello, and welcome to the Iron Spoon Kitchen, where today I find the iron spoon resting up against St. Nicholas. And you may be wondering, why is that? Well, it's because December 6th is St. Nicholas Day. And for those of you who may not know, St. Nicholas was a real man, and he was the bishop of Myra, many, many years ago. And this is a cookie that we're going to make today that is used in Belgium, the Netherlands, and in parts of France and other parts of Europe as well. That is a spiced cookie, and it is given on St. Nicholas Day. And so let's go ahead and get started with this. And we have our flour, we have our cinnamon, 5 teaspoons of cinnamon. Yes, this has a lot of cinnamon. A quarter teaspoon of cloves, and missing the cardamom, and then baking soda, baking powder, and salt. And then we have turbinado sugar. And I'm going to get to that in just a second, as soon as I get the sugar from the larder, and I still can't get that part fixed. Ugh. Okay, this is cardamom. And it is a wonderful spice to add to this. And we need 1 teaspoon of ground cardamom. Let's get this in here. Oh, it's going everywhere. That's about a teaspoon. So we're going to mix all these together with the flour, the cinnamon, 5 teaspoons. Yeah, I know it sounds like a lot, but it's going to taste good. A quarter teaspoon of cloves. And one thing about cloves, in case you didn't know, is that if you put too many cloves in, whatever you make is going to taste nothing but cloves. And then the 1 teaspoon of cardamom. And then salt, baking powder, and baking soda. Just a quarter teaspoon of each of those. Get all that in there. We're going to whisk that together. Not much to see here for this part. Ta-da, whisk. That is done. Now, the interesting part about this recipe is this turbinado sugar. And you may be thinking, why are you using that instead of regular sugar? Well, since this is a recipe from Europe, and in particular from Belgium, they use sugar beets there. And sugar beets have a little bit different flavor than ours. And you can get more of a caramelization or caramel taste in the sugar beet. And so here, since we use cane sugar most of the time, well, all the time, this is one of the ways we can do it. And it's turbinado. It's not some fancy word. It's just that means that they put it in a turbine, a centrifuge, and spun it around, and it makes this. The details you'll have to look up on for yourself. So let's get over here, and we're going to put this in the food processor because it's kind of rough, and we need to make it a little bit finer. So join me over here right now. Okay, here we have the food processor. And although this is an old recipe, it really didn't come to the United States until about the 1970s and 80s, when it was used by Delta Airlines on their flights. So we're going to put this in here, and we're going to make this a finer grain. So let me just show you that a little, in case you didn't see that close up. You can see this is kind of a coarse grain, and we need to make it a little bit finer for this. Hey, that should do it. Oh, look at all that. Looks like smoke, but it's just sugar. Oh, maybe I should do that in slow motion. Okay, that's great. Let me take this out here. We've got that ground much finer than it was. I'm taking that off of there, but boy, you can smell sugar everywhere. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start mixing everything in here. So we've got the 3/4 cup of turbinado sugar, and we're going to add the butter and mix that with the sugar until it makes a lump. And so I'll be back in just a second with the butter to be added. We're going to add 8 tablespoons of cold butter. I've chopped it up into little squares. And this is the neat thing about this recipe, since it's from the 70s, I don't feel bad about using a food processor. We're going to get this all mixed together. Okay, that has gotten to be a lump, which is what we wanted. Now 1 egg is going to be added. I'm going to spread this out a little bit. Watch your fingers, don't hit the blade. Okay, now we've got that into that lump formation. We've got that taken care of. It's a nice lump there of everything. So now I can add the dry ingredients. I'm going to spread this around again a little bit. There we go. The recipe called for 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter, but all I had was salted, so that's what I used. And that's what I've used the one other time I've made this recipe, and it worked out just fine. Okay, mixing again. Okay, we have like a paste there. So I'm going to take it out and put it onto the board. I'm going to knead this a little bit, and I put some parchment paper down here just to make sure that it doesn't stick. While I'm kneading this, I'll tell you a little bit more about St. Nicholas. He was the Bishop of Myra, which is right across from Cairo, across the Mediterranean Sea. And as I said, he was a real person. And sometimes you may see that gold coins associated with him. And the reason for that is because there was a family that didn't have enough money for a dowry for 3 daughters. And so the story goes that Nicholas heard about this. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll this out a little bit more. Nicholas heard about the desperate need of the family. And again, remember, this is around 300, 400. And so his parents had died, and his parents were wealthy. And he was able to give them the gold coins for a dowry for one of the daughters. And then he found out that the second daughter needed one, so he came back and brought it again. In fact, here's a picture. I'll put that up right now. This is a picture of him putting the coins through a window and dropping them into the house. So it didn't really start with things going down the chimney. And so it really was going through the window. And I'll show you another postcard. Here's another picture. This is a postcard of Nicholas. This is from about 1910. And he's giving the gifts through the window. And this is actually more accurate than anything, because as the story goes, he gave the he dropped the bags of coins through a window. Well, after the second time Nicholas left the coins, the father decided, well, I'm going to see what's going on here. And so he waited to see what was happening. And he discovered that it was Nicholas who was leaving the coins. And Nicholas said, oh, please don't tell anyone. I don't want any recognition. And the father said, sure, I won't tell anyone. I don't think he kept that promise, because everyone eventually knew about St. Nicholas. If there's two saints, almost everybody knows it's St. Nicholas and St. Mary. Okay. I'm going to get this to about a 10 by 12 size. I'm kind of going to just push this out a little bit. This cutting board I have is just about, I'm going to make this about 10 by 12 inches, and it's about 10 inches tall. I want to get this to spread out a little bit more. And this is one way you can do it. You don't necessarily have to do it just with the roller. So let's see how that looks. I got it falling off of here a little bit. So let's turn this way and get the rest of that down. There we go. And that should be good. Okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for an hour and a half. Hey, I've got this out of the refrigerator. It's been there for an hour and a half. And it looks good. Let's see, it looks like it's the right thickness. And I've got this pastry wheel here. And what we're going to do is to make out some little triangles with it. And what we need is a straight edge to help guide us. And I've got one right here. And let's see, I guess the smaller one will work better. Let's see. Yeah. That would be too big. Okay. So that's straight edge for another time. Let's see what we can do here. Let's go along here. There's that. Cut off this piece here. Oh yeah, this is going to make a good rectangle. Okay, stay in one place. Semi-straight. There we go. And I will take these and we'll make some additional cookies with this. And these cookies, as I said before, is that this is a Belgian spice cookie, but we've had spice cookies in the United States, for over 100 years, 250 years of America's cookbooks. But this one is special, as I said, because of the type of sugar, and that does make a difference. Your ingredients always make a difference. So whenever you can buy the right ingredients or a better ingredient, do so. Okay, here we go. That's close enough. Looking good. And you can decorate these with some little slivered almonds if you want to. That's common. A little thin there. Let's turn this around. I think think I'm just going to cut this down the middle. Now, I did make this a little thicker than probably I should have, because I could have more cookies here. So what I'm going to do is take this. I'm going to take these, put them on there, put them in a 300-degree oven for about 30 minutes. And what happens with these is that they don't really rise a whole lot. They'll rise some, but it's more of like a drying out of the cookie than anything, because this does not, this is going to be a crisp cookie. And you're going to see that the ingredients that we use, it's going to make it have kind of a honeycomb texture in the middle, which makes it nice and crunchy. So I'm going to get some of these onto this, and we'll be back in just a second. Here's a close-up of the cookies. I want you to see a little bit better. So I'm going to take those and put them over here, and then into that oven. Okay, they're ready for the oven. I'm going to get them in. I had a little bit of dough left over from when I carved it into a rectangle, and so I thought I would try some of these just to cut them out into a shape. And so I took this, and it's a little bit thicker so that I could do these cutout cookies. It's a shame to do all these cookies and not have at least one that was in the shape of something. Let's do a big star here. Hey, come over and take a look at these. I just wanted you to see a little close-up of the shapes that we have here. And then I'll take this and do a couple more stars or something like that. I just wanted you to see what you could do with these. They don't all have to just be rectangles. They're out of the oven, so I'm going to give them 20 minutes to cool, and then I'll be tasting them. Success! We are done. We have our spice cookies, which in Belgium they're called Speculoos. And this is where I got the recipe. Oh, something else is ready. I got the recipe from this Christmas Around the World in Belgium, and this was something that my mom subscribed to for many years. And this is where I got the recipe from, although I did change it up a little bit based on some other recipes that I saw. But you may recall, if you paid attention carefully, that these were eaten as little treats on Delta Airlines back in the 1970s and 80s. And that was the only place you could get them. And one of the reasons that they got them is because they didn't leave a lot of crumbs. And so it became kind of fashionable that you could just get them from on Delta Airlines. And over time, other airlines started offering them. And then I think by the 90s, you were able to get them here in this country. They were being sold. The company that makes those, I forget the name of it, but it's still a family-run company. But this is our spice cookie, or Speculoos, and let's give it a taste. Good, nice and crisp, just the way you want it. And I did make some of these others, like the Christmas tree and the stars as well. So you can do that, but you have to make them a little bit thicker. So if you do that, you need to leave them in the oven a wee bit longer. So all this came about because of St. Nicholas Day, which is December 6th. And one of the things that commemorates it are chocolate gold coins. And when St. Nicholas was come around in the Belgian area, or the Netherlands, or the areas that celebrate that, and even here in the United States, there's some small places that do it. In fact, my dad played St. Nicholas on Dickens on the Strand in Galveston, which is a big celebration that they do every year. And he would pass out chocolate gold coins to everyone. So I hope you appreciate that, the story on them. There's all sorts of websites on them, and you can learn a whole lot more. And the other part of this is that these are great little gifts. And I found this little rubber band things. You just put them on there, the rubber bands, they go around almost anything. You have to be careful with these cookies though. But there you go, ready to go. Or in the iron spoon kitchen in a white cotton cloth with a string around it. So you can do anything you want with that. Let's see. Oh, one other thing is that when cooking these, make sure that you do cook them on a cookie sheet and that it's nice and flat and it doesn't have the sides, because you want all the heat to go right to the cookies. Apparently it makes a difference. I didn't know that till just recently. And I did turn these about 15 minutes in, and then 15 minutes, 50 minutes in I turned them, and then at 30 minutes took them out. It was a 300-degree oven. Okay, well, I think that's got it. I hope that you found our St. Nicholas Day celebration fun and interesting. And once again, what are you going to do? Have you found a recipe that you want to try? I hope you'll try this one. I'll put it at the end of this video, along with some of the postcards and images of St. Nicholas that I have. And I hope that you'll find a recipe that you really like and that you share with others. And if you like this, if you're so inclined, please like it and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll be in touch with me each time a new video goes up. So happy St. Nicholas Day from the Iron Spoon Kitchen.